This is Political Core, the non-PC edition of The Aaron Cruz Show, where you decide the topics. The only place where you get the news you want from the people you trust. We are your balanced and accurate information resource.
Good evening and welcome to the Aaron Cruz Show, coming to you from Palm Springs, California. This is Political Core. I am your hostess, Aaron Cruz. Thank you for joining me. Tonight's topic is more of more. That's right. Unless you've been hiding under a rock, you have probably heard about Judge Moore from Alabama, who is currently facing conviction by the kangaroo court of public opinion. Absolutely he is. And an uphill battle in terms of salvaging his reputation. So we want to talk about this today, and I don't want to make light of the fact that we have many people who may be listening and around the nation who are victims of sexual assault or violent crimes, things of that nature. I'd like to be very sensitive to these individuals. I myself have had my own situations and trauma. However, I would also like to say that we need to, as a nation, respect the rule of law and give the judge some leniency. I mean, in terms of what is really going on here. And so what I wanted to do is, and I posted about this on Twitter a little bit today and on social media outlets, I want to talk about really kind of the core, right? Political core. That's what we get to on this show. We like to dig down to the center, the meat and potatoes, the center of everything. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. What does that mean? Let's get to the center of it. Well, come on. That's the nation we live in. Life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. That's what we want here. That's what we've kind of fostered through the years, and what our nation is built on, really, if you go back. So now what are we facing? We're facing a judge, a man. Again, if you've been hiding under a rock, maybe you don't know. In Alabama, there is a gentleman. His name is Judge Moore, M-O-O-R-E, and he's up against many forms of allegation that slaughter him in terms of his reputation, accusations of improper conduct with minors. Now, I want to remind you, this most recent accusation took place this morning, and actually yesterday morning, sorry about that. Time flies, right? Took place yesterday morning in 1977. Yes, folks, 40 years ago. I am 40 years old. And, you know, this is the year of my birth. That long ago, all right? And many of you I know are even older than I am, and you can remember back. I can't remember back that long, but of course I remember early 80s, you know. Banana seat bicycles and all these other things. Life was good. Kids played outside. The neighbors were friendly. You didn't worry about your daughter or your son if they ran up the street to the neighbor's house. Life was good. Life was simple. It was slower, right? Down home, country, small towns, people talked to one another. It was quite a different time. So we roll back to 1977, and Judge Moore allegedly, when he's, 30? Allegedly assaulted a young girl who is, 16, they said. Apparently, she says that he took her on a ride home from work, and allegedly work was at a restaurant. Now, there are so many issues with this entire story. And I want to go into that a little bit too, because I featured on my blog, and I don't know if you're familiar, it's meritofTruth.blogspot.com. I featured a story about what some of the things were that this woman, Nelson, had said. Now, there are other issues that I have with the fact that this woman is coming forward, okay? First of all, we have more than one accuser who's come at Judge Moore. And second of all, we now have an accuser who's come forward, and she has retained an attorney. She didn't just retain any attorney. She retained Gloria Allred. Yes, Gloria Allred. She is, if you're not familiar with her, you look her up. You know how I don't like to do your homework for you. So go ahead and look her up. She has a long history of standing up for, as they call it, she's a champion workplace rights and blah, blah, blah. It goes on, but really the long and the short of it is she's a Democrat shill. And I would say that about a Republican shill. Yes, we are equal here. We don't like to lean right too hard in terms of facts. The fact is, she is an ambulance chaser. Yes, she is. And we see that Gloria Allred has been retained to take care of Nelson, that's the accuser's name, case in terms of addressing the accusations and going before Congress. Nelson has said that she will sit before Congress under oath and give testimony. I have a problem with that too. We'll go into that. But what I wanted to do is just go over real quick some of the things that Nelson had said. She says that, quote, it has nothing to do whatsoever with the Republicans or Democrats. It has everything to do with Mr. Moore's sexual assault when I was a teenager. So, he no longer has any power of me, and I no longer live in fear of him. Really? No longer live in fear of him. What I want to know was, where was this woman? Where was Nelson last week talking to Allred? Because the week before that, she really wasn't too worried about Judge Moore, maybe altogether. Think about this, folks. These people have been hidden under a rock for 40 years. Why now? Why? The thing is what I'm seeing, and it's common across both party lines, okay? I'm going to be frank. I like to be balanced. I like to be fair. Okay, there's sometimes where I do shift right. But really, if we want to look at this, it's happening on both sides in some form. There is a position right now where we have people who are literally seeking to undermine elections, okay? Where was this woman the last 40 years? Where was this woman when Judge Moore was headed to be a judge? Because at the time he worked for, was it the DA? Okay, he was he worked for the DA. He wasn't even a judge. So where was she when he became a judge? Where was she the last 40 years? Why didn't she come forward sooner, and why now? Well, I'm going to tell you. It usually and likely, mostly, and we've seen this time and time again, it's usually about two things: money and power. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll, yes, but really, when it comes down to these kinds of things and politics and other issues, it comes down to money and power. So the question is, what does this woman get out of it? Now, is she just, who knows what she has on her head too, though, but let's not go into that tonight. There are some red flags here with this gal. Okay, where was she the last 40 years? She's been, mulling over this, so to speak, and she's sought counsel. She's so upset. I mean, if you watch the video of her, she's just beside herself. Why? It's been 40 years. 2, she does not allude to any, let's just say, well, I wouldn't say it's non-vulgar acts, but she does not say that he raped her. Okay, and so she accuses Judge Moore while she's in his vehicle. The door is locked. Okay, she couldn't get out of the car. He grabbed her by her neck and tried shoving her face in his lap. Those, this is her accusation, and it's all on all of the news outlets. They give the recount of the press release and meeting with Gloria Allred. Okay, you can look it up. I'm not going to look at it for you. What we want to do is we want to look at this. This gal provides then a yearbook. Okay, she says that he signed her yearbook as follows. Now follow me here. Follow me. Follow me. Follow me. Follow me. Follow me. He signs her yearbook as follows. My computer froze. Give me just a minute. He wrote in my yearbook as follows. To a sweeter, more beautiful girl, I could not say Merry Christmas. Christmas 1977, love Roy Moore, Old Hickory House, Roy Moore, DA. Oh, how sweet. The other thing she says, and of course she's given this yearbook for a reason, right? The other thing she says is that she had a boyfriend at 16, and she was, quote, not interested in having a dating or sexual relationship with a man twice my age. That's a really interesting thing to say. Okay, that's a very interesting thing to say. I was not interested in having a dating or sexual relationship with a man twice my age. If you're 16, you got somebody's signature in your yearbook, they gave you a ride home from work, what are you doing? Really, what are you doing? I was not interested in having a dating or sexual relationship with a man twice my age. Well, I don't know of any girl who would be, really. Okay? I just don't. Especially if she already had a boyfriend. But what does that have to do with the fact that she's coming forward, she's accusing a man who's now a judge, a man who has sentenced many people, okay, and had to make judgments on cases. She's saying that he has flaws, that he's immoral, that he is an irresponsible human being, that he's broken the law himself, okay? She's accusing him of assault, okay? And she's trying to provide evidence. Now, Glenn Beck had a great show today. He brought up some good points about this Roy Moore note in this yearbook, okay? The Old Hickory House has some issues with it in terms of where she says she worked, because this is a house where she said, I work, it's a restaurant. I work here, and he gave me a ride home. He signed my yearbook. It's just, this doesn't add up, folks. It really doesn't add up. So this yearbook, which he signed at her work and then gave her a ride home, supposedly, first of all, the writing is written in two different pens and looks as if it was not written all at the same time. Could be his pen ran out of ink. Maybe. Could be that it's not his writing at all. Could just be that he signed her yearbook, and so she looked at that and she thought, oh my God, I have that. I have his note in my yearbook. You know what? I'm going to say he was improper, and I'm going to throw him under the bus. There are all these accusations. We can get away with it. There's nobody to say he wouldn't. We left at the same time. I don't know if that's pretty far-fetched, but, we've seen worse of people in this lifetime, have we not? Unfortunately. And in the case of Judge Moore and this Old Hickory House, Glenn Beck says that, and he talks about how Judge Moore denied anything about the Old Hickory House. Well, Look at, this is 40 years ago. I'm sure he was a very busy person, and he ate at a lot of places, and he probably signed a lot of yearbooks or gave autographs or whatever. Maybe he was a very important person for a small town girl like herself. I don't know. But the thing is this. Just because you sign a yearbook does not mean that you sexually assault a girl. Okay? Is it even his writing? Are there even fingerprints on the yearbook? I mean, this yearbook has so many issues with it. It's just, it doesn't prove he assaulted her. It just doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't. Do we have witnesses that say she got in the car that night? This 40 years ago, people. Maybe her parents know that he gave her a ride home. Maybe not. I mean, there are a lot of different questions that we need this woman to answer. One of the biggest questions I have, and I wrote this in my blog, and I've written it all over Twitter, is about that locked door. So she says after the incident, Moore had offered to drive Nelson home after work, during which she alleges he forced himself onto Nelson and groped her in a locked car. Quote, I trusted Mr. Moore because he was a district attorney. I thought he was doing something nice to offer a drive home, said Nelson. She detailed her fighting off Moore in the car as he squeezed her neck, forcing her head onto his crotch. She said that Moore eventually gave up, and he told her, you're just a child. I'm the district attorney. If you tell anything about this, if you tell anyone about this, no one will ever believe you. Okay, I have a few really, really big problems with this. And one of the problems is that, look, this is 1977. Who locked the car door? It's not like it locks itself like they do now. Who locked the car door? Did she lock it when she got in and put on her seatbelt? Who locked the car door? Did he reach over and lock it and grab her by the neck like she accuses him of? It's more likely that if this were to have ever happened, that they were talking, and who knows? I mean, but how do you wrap your hands around somebody's neck if you're sitting in a driver's seat? I mean, there's just, play the situation in your mind. It doesn't take a scientist to figure this out, folks. It doesn't add up. The accusations are weak, the details are flawed, and it seems to be nothing more than a big, shiny, frickin' mirror. That's exactly what I think about it. It's a shiny mirror. It's taking attention off of what's really going on in the nation right now, the problems that are really happening, and it's in an effort to undermine elections. And that's one of the bigger points that we want to get to here on Political Core tonight. But before we do that, I want to go into the other thing in that statement. Not just about grabbing her neck. Okay? She says he eventually gave up. If all of these allegations are what they say they are, if Moore, okay, was indeed a predator, think about it. If he was really a predator, if he preyed on young girls and he was that sly and cunning and as she says, grabs her neck, okay, if he was that intense, he wouldn't give up. He's a predator. He knows exactly what he's doing, and he wouldn't stop until he gets what he wants. It wouldn't be so simple. Okay? So, somebody's lying here. And, one of the things people I've seen say out there is, well, there are so many accusations. Even friends say that he was friendly and, he was with girls, young girls, and blah, blah, blah. Look. This is 1977. Everybody's hometown, fun and fancy-free, friendly, nice, and the world isn't so jaded. He was a community member who likely had to socialize with many different groups of people and had to be proper and upstanding and friendly with their, children and families, and create good public image. And he appears to be, from his long-standing career, somebody who's involved in the community and morally well-grounded, let's just say. I say appears to be. There could be evidence somewhere that Judge Moore has faults. Who doesn't? Okay? But let's look at this. Judge Moore has had a long-standing career in the community, and furthermore, he's played his part. Okay? And nobody can fault him for that. Nobody can fault him for that. So let's get back to this Chicky Chick. Okay, that's what I'm going to call her, Chicky Chick. She has with this yearbook, she has an uphill battle, because the thing is this, we don't know that he actually signed it. There could or couldn't be fingerprints. I mean, would there be fingerprints? How many people have touched it? If this is indeed evidence and it's that important, I mean, what is going on here? So how are they going to verify the writing? How are they going to verify some of the other aspects of trying to find, criminal means to get this man, Judge Moore, out from being able to be elected? I think that more likely she is a liar, and she will be found out to be a liar. If she is indeed a victim, I will be the first one to apologize and admit I am wrong. Okay. One of the city directories, there's been a really, really big uproar online about this Old Hickory House in that yearbook. Okay. Some people say it's an old restaurant that was no longer there. It's changed names. It's moved out. There's a newer restaurant named the same thing, and that's now standing. William Thornton says City Directory confirms Old Hickory House stood at 305 East Mayan Boulevard in Gadsden in 1977. Site now has rallies. Now, the interesting thing is Moore has basically said, Judge Moore, he's said that it's a forgery. It's a blatant forgery to Nelson's allegation. There was an Old Hickory House there. So we can go back and forth, and all of the media is going crazy on was there, wasn't there, is there, where is it now, where isn't it now, all of that. That's not the core. That's really not the core. Okay, if Gloria Allred had evidence, hard evidence, she would be bringing this to a position where basically Judge Moore would have to stand trial. I mean, you go through the whole deal. You go through the whole deal. And even there, you run into other snags. So, what is this, folks? This is, again, going back to the beginning of the show. Kangaroo court, kangaroo court, kangaroo court. Trial by public opinion. And in terms of the Democrat Party, Judge Moore has been found guilty. What has this done for the Republican Party? This has done not a lot of good. One of the things that it's done is it's caused a lot of questions amongst Republicans as to, proper moral standing for its members and what do you do. Look, Mitch McConnell has asked for Judge Moore to step aside. And for me, that is probably the worst position for anybody to be in terms of what we should be doing, one, as a party, but even more importantly, what should we be doing as a nation? Our nation, okay, our nation is one of the few nations where you actually have rights, okay? You do. And you are innocent until proven guilty. You are. By your peers. So bring it. Judge Moore is no more guilty than you or I of any other crime except for wanting to run for an office where the Democrat Party has determined that they feel that they can, by slaughtering his image, by killing any sort of reputation he might have as an upstanding citizen, they can get him out and they can take that seat. If that's not the case, they can at least create doubt and fraction within the Republican Party, which is one of the bigger issues I want to talk about if we get to the core. The core of the matter is this. We are not just at a fringe in terms of this particular seat. We are at a turning point. We have to realize, we have to come to the conclusion that not even just as Republicans, but as a nation, we have a set of congresspersons, we have a set of media, we have a set of people in this nation who are hell-bent on causing divide for gain. They're hell-bent on causing divide for gain. Okay, there's a cost that's involved and there's a benefit involved. Okay, there's a cost and a benefit involved in this whole thing. When people act as they are in the Democrat and Republican parties. Now, primarily in this case, what we see is a whole bunch of Democrats coming against Judge Moore and now gathering our own Republicans and throwing Judge Moore under the bus before he's had a chance to defend himself in court. What we have is a group of people who have decided, by gathering these so-called women with allegations, okay, by gathering these women, okay, the benefit to them would be that they might be able to get a seat in Congress. What is the benefit to this gal? What, that she somehow weaken the Republican Party, that she somehow weaken the Congress and give benefit and gain. She said she doesn't want political gain, but why come out a month before the elections? There's only one reason why. The gain would be for her to win a seat for the Democrat Party, or weaken, should we say, the Republican Party. Cause fraction and essentially unravel even further and divide even further the Republican Party. That's her gain. That's the media's gain. Gloria Allred's gain. It's not for justice. This is not about justice. If this was about justice, there would not be posturing like we are seeing. This is not about justice. The gain here is political, and it's about money, and it's about power. The cost here is greater than one could even imagine. The cost is here setting a precedence that you no longer have rights or freedoms. You no longer have the right to defend yourself, to be innocent until proven guilty. The cost here is freedom. The cost here is setting a precedence that we as a nation no longer care about rule of law. We no longer care about process. The cost here is weakening and causing a long-term instability. You know, this is something I pointed out under Obama, is that what's good for the goose, good for the gander. Okay, you have to remember there's two sides to a coin. You have to remember that whatever you do, your opponent can do too. You write executive orders, Obama, you better watch, because you're opening up a door. And that's what one of the things I said. I'm not real thrilled with when Obama was doing some executive orders, because I said the next guy, guess what that opens up? Shoving policy down the throats. Guess what that opens up? I mean, it's just, it's unpalatable. It sets precedents, and it's not right. But really what this is doing, what Congress, what the media, what Gloria Allred, and what these accusers are doing is they're causing a long-term instability of our national government. A long-term instability of our national government, because all it takes, rather than being guilty, all it takes, rather than having to go through process, all it takes is for somebody to make some claim, some assertion that perhaps you've done wrong, and your life's career, your life's work, your community work, your family, everything that you've done gets flushed down the toilet. It's not right. So I can't stand behind Mitch McConnell. I cannot stand behind those who blindly and without any type of moral standing themselves, cannot stand there and accuse a man and demand that he set aside his entire career, his family, his community over accusations. Blind accusations with no evidence, no proof. Tell him to step aside. Mitch McConnell and other people in the Democrat Party who are standing up and saying that Judge Moore should stand aside are, in my opinion, no better off than an accused and found convicted person who must stand before his peers in his community and say, gosh, I've been found guilty. Because they themselves, by what they are doing, they themselves are saying that there is no value in law, there is no value in process. They themselves are saying that everything that they stood for as attorneys, many of these people are attorneys, everything that they have done in their lives, everything that they've stood for, the oaths that they've given as congresspersons, all of that, they've thrown it out the window in order to have good public opinion, in order to kind of give a head nod and denounce and renounce anybody or affiliation and ties to anyone who might be accused of being a child predator. Look, this is not about being a predator or child predator or a pedophile. He has not been proven to be a pedophile or a predator. He has not been proven to be somebody who isn't of good moral values and an upstanding background. If he were a child predator, if he were not an upstanding citizen, I highly doubt he would have made his judgeship. I highly doubt it, and I'm sure that there is plenty of scrutiny in many of the positions he's held. Not only in his career, but, people talk. And that's what they're saying now. They're saying people are talking about him. But let's not get on to Judge Moore anymore, because really the issue is this. It's not really about Judge Moore. Let's look at the big picture. How about Herman Cain? How about, Trump? He had his own issues. But this accusing people of having affairs or improper relations with persons, accusing, is something that has gone on in the Democrat Party, accusing Republicans for some time, slaughtering reputations, or an attempt to slaughter reputations. And you know what it's for? The gain is for money and power. And do you know what it's interfering with? Elections. Think about that. I know I mentioned, I think it was yesterday, I think we need to be a little less worried about Russia interfering in our elections as we are. I think we are in a good position where we need to start worrying about people within our own borders who are interfering in elections and conducting improper activities as it relates to the process of our national and state elections, right? That's what it comes down to. That's what it comes down to. If it's found that these allegations are false, if it's found that they are empty and without cause, if it is found that there are lies I would like to call for these people, Nelson included, to be held to the highest standard and to be put in a position of serving jail time. You cannot accuse somebody of a crime, okay, if they are not guilty. And doing so in an effort to change the outcome of a national election or state election or any other form of election is punishable by law. Okay? So, yeah, I think it's time. I think it's time to look in the mirror. I think it's time to get away from looking at Russia in terms of interfering in our elections and to start looking in the mirror in our own nation and saying, look, what are we really doing here? Because what we are doing is dividing. We are, as a people, when we look at, say, Congress people, when we look at media, and we look at all of these other groups, us as a people, as citizens, we are allowing these groups to continually churn and divide us, churn and divide us, and churn and divide us. That has to stop. We as a nation, we have to stand up to those powers. No, it doesn't matter if it's right or left. I mean, I've seen it by the right too. So if somebody doesn't like somebody's position, political position on the right, it's okay to go ahead and slam and accuse and all of this. It's pretty brutal out there. It's really brutal out there. And one of the sad things is they're looking for outcomes of votes, right? Votes in the Senate, votes in the House. We can't even get the Senate and the House to agree on tax reform, which would put more food on our tables, which would, health reform to put more food on our tables. I think we need to focus more on getting people into office who will look out for the values and standards and the beliefs and the policies and all of these other things that we need as a people passed and pushed forward to encourage, a good, healthy economy, strong national security, it's just so much we need right now. And yet we have these people in the media, we have these people in Congress, we have these citizens coming forward, supposedly, allegedly coming forward on their own to distract us from what's really going on. What's really going on is the bigger picture, undermining the major votes that have to happen, which, again, go back to the money and power. So, what do we do? What do we do? We look at this and we say, okay, time is going to tell about the current situation with more, but the bigger picture is this. There are individuals in the media, individuals in Congress who are upsetting the apple cart. You contact them. You let them know that enough is enough. You want them to not focus on these things, that you want X, Y, Z in tax reform, you want X, Y, Z in healthcare reform, and get back to work. They're there to do a job. They're there to get things done. That all of these other items of attention are just distractions, and that you're tired of it. The other thing you need to do is vote. You need to vote these individuals out who are in your districts, in your state, and in the national elections. Vote them out. High-time incumbents like John McCain and Mitch McConnell get thrown out. They've been career politicians. Being a politician, being in Congress is not meant to be a full-time position. It's not meant to be a lifetime position. It's not. So, with that, I think we can do a lot if we pull together. I've seen a lot of people pull together behind Sean Hannity and the Keurig issue and advertising and what happened there about Judge Moore. I'm so glad to see that Keurig said, oh shoot, we really shouldn't have done this. Okay, that's fine. They shouldn't have done that. And now they've apologized. Fine. I'm good with that. But I just have to say tonight to you, I'm saddened that we have to come together about a man who's emptily accused of being a child aggressor, predator, and get behind a man who's in the media just trying to give a story, okay? If we put as much energy as we have in Sean Hannity and getting these other people like John McCain out, getting other people like, oh gosh, Maxine Waters out, getting other people like, just say, Feinstein, and I mean, we can go down the list of all of these individuals really just shouldn't be in office, and get other people in. If we put the energy we put into like Sean Hannity, into these other issues, into these other seats, into these other election races, we would be in a good place. Not just from the right, not just from the left, just as a nation. We have to put our nation first, and that comes before R&D, right? Lower taxes, better health care options, lower premiums because of increased competition. Those shouldn't be an R&D thing. No, that should be looking out for the citizens, yeah? Should be a united issue, yeah? So we have to unify. We have to unify. And that requires getting involved at your local level, of course. And we've talked about that every week of the show that I'm on. So hopefully we got to the core, and I helped you understand it's not so much about the specifics, about what the accusations are, okay, as it is about what's going on in the House and in the Senate, in D.C., in Hollywood, and with the media, right? Those are the issues. Undermining the United States of America for money and for power. It's not okay. And as citizens, doesn't matter if you have an RRD, we need to stand up. We need to stand up for what's right. We need to stand up for rule of law. Yes? So, we are at the end of the show. And thank you again for joining me, Erin Cruz, for Political Core, the Erin Cruz Show. Make sure you join me again this next Thursday evening from 7 to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for the Queen of Politics. We have a little bit more fun while we talk the issues, as always, with information you can use to make positive change in your community and in your state and in the nation. I almost forgot. I also want to give you the number to Congress, which is 202-224-3121. That's 202-224-3121. Go to house.gov or senate.gov for any information that you need on senators and representatives. You can also look up their information on my website, erincruz.com, erincruz.com, or send me an email to info@erincruz.com. Make sure you like us on social media. As always, we want to grow together to find common solutions and find common ground, and I will always answer any questions I can. Do not hesitate to reach out. We are in this together. Yes? I hope y'all have a great and blessed evening. God bless you, and God bless America.
To hear more and to learn more on how you can make an impact or about Political Core and the Erin Cruz Show, visit us online at erincruz.com. That's erincruz.com. Thank you for joining us, and see you at the same time and the same place next week.